Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam, and to our farthest right, per usual, is none other than Rex Shady Nero. And guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, minutes before we were going to begin recording, the nuke went off on the timeline. No pun intended. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about today, breaking down a little bit of the All-Star weekend and then the predictions for this weekend heading into stage 4. Of course, the first the first LAN tournament of the year is coming up. And we got to talk about HUKE and the craziness of ROSTERMANIA the past week. But before we get to any of that, guys, I've got to ask, boys, what's going on?
Well, Josh, by looking in the background of my room, it feels like maybe I'm being held against my will, but that's not the case. That's not the case.
The white walls.
Because you can tell I'm not, because I have Bold and Brash painting back there.
Yep.
Bold
One of my
and brash.
prized art possessions. It's going to be the next big thing. I'm expecting to sell it for, honestly, a lot in the future, and I'm holding it down like someone would an NFT.
Hand painted by Squidward himself. It's a prized possession. It truly is. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I'm doing good.
Jazzed up after the news? Oh my
Jazzed
goodness.
Up. Wow, that was a nuke.
Yeah.
Finally, we get good timing.
I know,
the
literally.
COD timing.
Literally.
The timing on that one.
I mean, for LA Thieves to drop that bomb like at 10 p.m. Eastern time or whatever, like that's pretty crazy. Well, again, we'll talk about all of that a little bit later. We're going to go through all the ROSTERMANIA madness, and we're going to start off with basically the crazy news of the week. So we have a ton to talk about today. It's going to be a long episode for sure. So we're going to get straight into the news of the week. Skip the review today. I know all you leaving these beautiful reviews, but you can listen on Apple Podcasts. You can drop a comment on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, and we appreciate all those comments, the reviews. And so, like we said, no review today we're going to read, but we do appreciate them, and we read them all the time around here. But yeah,
I
pretty
see
straightforward.
YouTube comments.
Oh, we see
You're coming
you,
at
baby.
my neck.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't like
Rex
it.
posted a fiery, shady Monday today on the Twitter, Best of 3 Pod. You can follow the full podcast on Twitter. And again, myself, SalvationsElite, Bash_Bo3, and Shady Nero. But without further ado, guys, let's get right in to the news of the week. We got a ton to talk about. The Call of Duty News of the Week. Yeesh, oh my goodness. Obviously, a pretty fun weekend of COD content. I was actually pretty surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised with the quality of All-Star Weekend. Going into it, I had pretty low expectations. Normally in COD history, the All-Star Weekends aren't anything too special.
No.
They're pretty straightforward, but this weekend with the casters teams facing off against each other with the All-Stars and the 1v1 tournament as a whole, I thought it was a pretty good time overall, and they did a good job keeping interesting and fun with the comms of the players, and I don't know, I thought it was good vibes overall.
This felt like the first one that like actually, I don't know, it actually looked enjoyable and fun and like something you would want to watch. In the past, it's always been like, this is just like filler content. This is nothingness. Who cares? But this one actually looked like actually really enjoyable to watch and something that I think would have been a treat for anybody who watched it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like legit a good time all the way through. We had like Team Chance and Team Nameless and Team Study and Team Miles all facing off against each other with all the squads, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, Team Chance came out on top, which was Abizi, and then you had the OUT OpTic duo of Envoy and Dashy, and then you had Methods on that squad. So Methods, finding his way into a starting lineup once again.
I know.
Things you love to see. And so that was just comedy all weekend, seeing Methods' reactions and tweets.
Making waves.
Oh, yeah, about the whole weekend. And then they had the 1v1 series this weekend, of course, which was pretty straightforward, but also, again, good times. Abizi ended up coming out on top, taking down Dashy, which was, again, just a fun time as well. I thought it was just a really, really cool tournament.
Literally, it's like everyone you think would have been in the top on this 1v1.
I mean,
pretty much the top.
basically, I mean, like the only guys that you would expect to be there that weren't there was solely because they weren't even there. Like they weren't like Celium. Like, yeah, like you might expect to be inside the top 4.
Yeah.
But he wasn't actually an all-star, which was kind of crazy.
Oof.
Yeah, when he won last year, you would think it would be like that. They really should do the auto invite.
Yeah, you know,
if they're gonna do the 1v1 thing again, you got to do the auto invite for the guy who won.
Yeah, so I was a little bit surprised about that, but yeah, at the end of the day, Dashy faced off against Hydra in the semifinals. Envoy faced off against Abizi in the other side of the bracket in the semifinals. and then it was a BZV Dashy. They played all of the face-off maps.
Face-off.
Which were, I thought it worked out pretty good. My only criticism would have been that they could have used the sweeping radar or something. Maybe radar always on, but maybe sweeping radar would be about right. Because, man, there were some moments where it's like nobody moved for like 15, 20 seconds where they're playing. I mean, again, to be fair, a BZ won $10,000 for this.
I was going to say, like, 10K was on the line.
Can you imagine playing a $10,000 1v1? I mean, that would be actually insane.
I mean,
as well.
Easy, best first blood percentage, and
what
kind of showed.
Yeah,
kind of earned it.
I mean, what are your thoughts? How much again, like across the whole weekend? Obviously, there were some pretty shocking performances, good and some bad. I mean, I'm looking at you, Apathy. Oh my goodness, he went 11-32, 11-32 in the first hardpoint, which was real tough. But how much do you think? How much can you actually take away from an All-Star week? I know this isn't very newsy. It's more just kind of opinion stuff. But how much can you actually take away from an All-Star weekend? Do you actually learn anything from this? I mean, can you kind of dial in on players' 1v1 abilities? Does it translate, or like in these 8 settings, with these drafted teams? What do you learn from this?
I mean, as we know, like COD can be very day to day sometimes, so like that plays a factor. But it kind of depends on how hard people are kind of going with it.
Yeah,
like
that definitely matters.
They might like let's say like Apathy, like he didn't think about it, whatever. He's just like, all right, I'll get on, do this thing, be done, and like maybe that's just where his mindset was. And like honestly, it's not like a terrible mindset. This wasn't anything important for him really. So like for him to have the passion there, it's like, whatever, we'll cut him slack on that. But the people who do succeed are probably going to be people who are also pretty good. So I think it can tell you who's good, but I don't think it's going to tell you who's necessarily like bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think like the biggest thing that is taken away from these kind of weekends is the public's stock of
like the public opinion of certain players.
Like that's the biggest thing that's gonna be affected.
Right.
I truly don't think any coaches or any like players are looking to this weekend
and letting it affect their opinion on players.
But I mean, there is something to say about public opinion. Like, I know there was some criticism on like the flank of like, you guys set a precedent of like opinions, and that gets translated into this. So it's like, how much does that play in the factor of teams' decisions of players? And so it's like, is it really that big, or is it more just you'll see more Twitter stands of people like, well, a busy beat Dashy 2-0, so he's obviously better.
Right. I mean, it was Octane's first grand final in 2 years.
That's cold, man.
That's so tough. I mean, he looks pretty good in his matches when he has a team of Hydra, Simp, and HUKE with him. Look pretty good. I mean, you got to say, maybe it does matter a little bit. I don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's obviously so many variables. I agree. Like at the end of the day, you really just can't take much from it. Like, there are those certain small moments, like where there's moments where it's like you can see the individual talent of the players. Again, usually it's those pop-offs where it's like the crazy 2-piece or 3-piece where you're like, no normal player is getting that 3-piece or what, or whatever it is. And like Insight had a few of those, Hydra had a few of those, Simp, like the players you'd expect to have those had those. And that's where I think you can take away like the small things. You're like, yeah, I mean, these guys are really freaking good. But like, can you really take too much more away from just saying, yeah, these guys are really freaking good? I mean, you can take maybe like little moments away, but like, it's not like they're playing. It's an all-star weekend. They're playing the ego chow. They're playing to push stupid things. They're trying to make hero plays. So it's like for someone to like roast players for a bad performance. I mean, obviously Apathy didn't look great, and it's not the best looks. I mean, to be fair, it's not the best looks.
Absolutely.
But for that to affect someone's opinion on Apathy based off 2 maps, it's like, that's pretty ridiculous. Everyone has a bad map once in a while. It's tough go, especially in a match that doesn't really matter much. So that's kind of my rant on the whole weekend. I thought it was just a good time. It was fun times. The Miles v Chance match, I thought was probably my favorite match to watch because, I mean, again, Miles, he has been on fire with casting lately. You got to keep giving him props.
Miles is the GOAT. I've been saying, man.
I think he's made massive improvements in his casting game, like since the beginning of last year. It's really insane. And like, he made that match so fun to watch. I thought it was a blast for that one, and as a whole, they did lose. To be fair, he had the rookie team of Standy, Paul, Insight, and then he had Apathy.
Yeah.
And it was just a
Love
weird
it.
squad, but it was definitely fun to watch.
I dare say Miles is getting close to the public's favorite caster. Honestly.
I think honestly though,
Because
Do you think
he's
it's getting
that
close?
good? He's that good.
well, I
He's
think
is
that
my
good,
favorite caster.
But like I think he's also like
Both him
more,
and Chance together.
he's more involved.
interactive and involved. Like
He is.
I feel like, this is probably be a side tangent, but I think Maven has maybe focused more on his like streaming and like
Warzone.
building up Warzone and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. While like Miles has really kind of dove into like
Competitive COD.
with the competitive community itself. So
I
mean,
agree.
That's pretty cool.
I was actually talking to Shift about this because we were like, it does kind of feel like Miles has embraced the competitive COD and it would be interesting. Like if you asked the average fan, if you polled everyone who watches competitive COD, who's the face of the casters, people
Maven.
might say Miles. People
They
might say
could.
Miles.
Because they've been
Maybe
giving
close.
him some like big matches now. Because like
Yeah.
you can tell like they give the biggest matches to Maven, Merc. Then
Right.
they would go Miles, Chance, and then Study and Lando get like the least
The
important
intros.
ones.
Yeah.
They do.
It's honestly weird thinking about that. Like Miles, they weren't a duo until Momo
Mhm.
left.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of weird to
Benson
even like think
too,
about at this
yeah.
point.
Blessing
But
in disguise for both of them. Like
yeah,
they found
it was probably
something
the best thing
special.
for both of their careers. I mean, honestly, for
Yeah.
Chance and Miles, like just really worked out for him. I agree.
No, yeah, they've found their footing. I think, and I think they're just increasing their skill 100%. So
Yeah.
that's cool to see, and I really do hope his like content game
Takes
keeps
off.
improving too and takes off. And I think because I think he's such an entertaining individual,
Mhm.
and like the phrases he comes up with are just bizarre. And
Oh, it's comedy.
Beautiful words.
very
I
funny.
love it.
It is. I mean, his references are on point. But anyway, that was a huge tangent for the news of the week. But
yeah, congrats, Miles.
yeah, shout out. The All-Star Weekend was a good time. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And Abizi won $10,000 playing a 1v1,
It's impressive.
which is insane in itself. And even playing 100. I mean, maybe playing for 10,000 is like playing for $100 for me. But like, even playing in a $100 1v1, I'd be like, oh my
No,
goodness.
it's like, oh crap.
Whew, there's a lot on the line here. But yeah, it's actually crazy. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk more about the groups probably later.
Yeah.
So I guess we can just try to throw that to the second half
Yeah.
of things. But Standoff has arrived.
Mhm,
Standoff is
mhm.
here, and we finally know what map it's replacing. And the question was, is it coming in as a respawn map? Is it coming in as a search and destroy map? Is it going to come in as a control map? And unfortunately, it's not going to come in as a respawn map. It's only going to be for search and destroy. It replaced Checkmate Hardpoint. And so Standoff is in
Checkmate search.
that's what I meant. Checkmate
Brain
search. And it's here to stay. So one stat I did see was that this is the most maps we've ever had in the rotation at once in COD history.
Great. Good.
We've never had 8 maps before. So we've had 7 before, but never 8.
Was it AW that was 7?
I think so.
It's got to be AW.
It's gotta be AW. But yeah, so pretty crazy. I would have loved to see it in the rotation for like a hardpoint or control, but the problem is the spawns were just screwed. So
I was gonna
anyway,
say,
thoughts on Standoff and replacing Checkmate?
I'll be honest. I am okay with not having it be.
Miami.
I was gonna say respawn right away, like spawns are by far the most important factor for a respawn map, and so maybe we give it time. They fixed it stage 4, then stage 5 is ready to go. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. I'm okay with it not being it right now. But I would like to see it in stage 5. However, though, I think fantastic. Get rid of Checkmate. Get rid of that awful S&D map.
FaZe is pissed.
FaZe is pissed, but at the same time, that map just blows.
It's just not fun to watch.
I hate it. I hate watching it. I hate playing it. Just terrible. So
Yeah.
I am very happy with this progress. I'm happy with this change. I would be disappointed if I do not see it stage 5 respawn.
Fair. Yeah, I mean,
I want
Rex,
to
are you
see
on the
it
same page?
respawn basically same page. I do want to see it a respawn at all costs that we can like make it possible. But if the spawn system isn't quite there, obviously
they had to
you just
move the
can't do it. It's
checkmate
just not
zones or the
competitive that
control
way.
zones. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the control zone. So like, okay, but I'm glad that it's in for Checkmate. I think that was like, if anything was going to change, I think we would have chosen to have Checkmate taken out.
Right. Were you on the
with
Checkmate
S&D.
train versus Miami? Like Miami v Checkmate, that debate? Which one would you rather have seen Checkmate go?
I'd rather
for
see
sure.
Checkmate go.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Miami is at least big and like it feels like more, I don't know, like strategies happening with it. Checkmate is
Miami,
just like run into the plane. Whoever wins the round.
The thing with Miami is I really enjoy the possibility of rapping. Like,
yep,
you see teams able to rap at like
the mid-round adjustments.
Yes, that is something that you do not see in Checkmate. Checkmate, it's literally pile in the plane.
We saw New York try it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But man, it's such a one-sided map.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you don't
what,
want an SMD that one bomb site is only been planted there like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's just that bad to go plant there. It's like, so it's just one bomb site. So like at the beginning, you're like, they're going B. Like,
right.
There's no question.
Which is kind of crazy that teams on offense were winning rounds. It's honestly insane that anyone could win a round on Checkmate offense just because it just came down to those first bloods inside plane and how they were playing it. I did think that Checkmate got more interesting as the year went along because teams were innovating a little bit. So I was actually kind of 50-50 on it with Miami, but I do think that overall, I'd way rather see Standoff in the rotation. And so if you're going to get rid of one, Checkmate's the way to go. I agree with you. The balance is more interesting for sure, even though if Miami was just daytime, that would already make it fine. Like,
True.
At that point, it would go from like to like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Not terrible.
What is with COD and just making dark nighttime maps as if like people want to play them?
Nobody wants that.
I think like dark maps are cool for pubs and can be. You think of Terrace on AW.
Yeah.
The really cool like
The grease map.
but competitive. It's got to be bright. Like there's no. The competitive advantage of seeing better the dark, that doesn't seem
It's
right
so
to me.
dumb. You literally have to have different monitor settings. Like this is the Miami setting. You
like,
just crank up the contrast
or whatever. Yeah.
Well, dark maps are like very novel, I feel like, where when you have a dark map, it's cool for like the first like week you're playing it. And after that, it's like, you know the whole map and it's like, wow, it's just dark and it just loses its like novelty.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You know?
For sure. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, man, I'm really hyped about Standoff. I think it's going to be really fun to see how it's innovated and how it impacts teams. I mean, obviously OpTic, this is tough news for OpTic. They were really hoping Miami would get the plug because right now they don't play it. And FaZe would prefer not to play it either. So this really sucks for FaZe and for OpTic specifically, those two teams especially. Checkmate, obviously the teams that were trying to veto Checkmate, you got to be feeling pretty good about that. And there's quite a few teams that didn't want to play Checkmate at all. So it is an interesting overall balance. I think out of the team that's affected the most is a 100% OpTic because just in a negative sense. That's why I think from a public perception, I saw a lot of rallying for Miami to get booted. And I was like, yo, this has got to be OpTic fans, right? Because it's like, I feel like Checkmate's an objectively worse map. And,
it is.
Yeah.
And really, you think OpTic? I feel like, honestly, in a weird way, I feel like it puts FaZe in a weird spot.
Well, I mean,
like
FaZe, I agree.
FaZe for sure.
Want just to take the one-on-one. FaZe would like a map where it's just a one hallway running down. Because like, that's basically what Checkmate was. And they were awesome.
Yeah.
So like anything where they can just like get the quick engagements and just like head on head, that's perfect. But like once you put them on a map like Miami or something like Standoff, even where it's more things are more separated, a lot more cover, it gets kind of tricky. I feel like for them.
Yeah, I mean, so the teams that this helps the most, the LAG, they don't want to play Checkmate
for sure.
London Royal Ravens are 0-3 on Checkmate. Ultra 1-3 on Checkmate. LA Thieves 1-3 on Checkmate. Mutineers 2-5 on Checkmate. Teams that are the best on Checkmate: FaZe 7-1, OpTic 6-2, Empire 5-4, Subliners 5-4.
Yeah, OpTic have yet to win in Miami S&D.
Yeah, they're 0-2. Yeah, so that's the other thing is that on Miami, OpTic are 0-2. They've been basically vetoing it since the end of stage 1. And then Surge are 1-3, Legion 2-4, FaZe 2-3, London 2-2, Mutineers 2-2. So it is tough. Those teams, I mean, OpTic and FaZe, it definitely hurts the most. I think you look at the Mutineers being a team that doesn't help either. I don't think they really want to play Miami. So you better hope that those teams are very, very good at Standoff. I think that's probably where it comes down to. And again, FaZe looked dominant on Checkmate. So tough for FaZe in that sense of the argument. So we'll see. Right now, OpTic, I mean, what's their S&D map pool? It's like
It's pretty much
Moscow or bust. It's like Moscow. You're just like, oh man, they're in a tough spot.
I know. Raid
Obviously, you got checkmate, and raid, but like,
even then, it's just not very promising stats.
I mean, they got to get good at standoff. I feel like OpTic can. I'm not. Oddly enough, I feel like it's weird that OpTic can't pull off Miami very well. I feel like that's something that they should do pretty well on
with Dashy and Formal, playing ARs, and then like none of them are like, I don't know, like meathead players. So like, I don't know, but I hope Standoff is a different story.
I feel like OpTic can be good on Standoff, but I would have said OpTic could be good on Miami as well. But they haven't been. So they haven't played it.
I think they could be good on Miami. They probably need to give it a go and start trying to play it. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up fixing it. They come out in stage 4 and they are very, very good at Miami. That wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
Considering you've got Dashy and Formal who are great at controlling those long lines of sight. You have Envoy who loves playing weird creddy corners and just playing the weird spots.
Yeah.
Trying First Blood, playing like inside Garage, just doing weird stuff. And then you have Scump. I don't know. I think that I could see them being pretty good at Miami. They just got bodied on it early and they stopped playing it. So anyway, long story short, other news there. I guess real quick, we got to talk about the rumor of no expansion teams. That has been, it basically fueled the fire by Zuma, who said on a stream during a stream once that he had been hearing that there might not be expansion teams at this point, which is pretty insane.
Ridiculous, dude.
Where are you at with this? Do you think that's the case? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I guess the question is like, well, where is Zuma getting his information? And also, why would they not do expansion teams?
What's the downside?
I guess it has to be interest then, right? It has to be the interest.
I don't think it's interest. I mean, maybe, but since they haven't really done a full season of LAN yet, then it's like they're going to just get expansion teams before they've really been fully delve into how to do LAN well.
Yeah.
So like maybe they're like kind of hesitant to be like, before we bring expansion teams, let's try and figure out how to do this on LAN with these teams. Because if we had more teams, it could make things even worse on LAN and really make things slow down more when they don't want that to happen, because they need to just do LAN more just to see where they're at.
Yeah.
So like that's my only argument I can make for why they wouldn't do expansion teams. I hope it's not the case though, because we need them. We need them.
There's so much talent.
And it's freaking stupid.
We need 4 more teams at least.
There's literally 25, 30 players that could be pros. I mean, maybe more. You know, it's actually insane. My thought process would be here, like, I think we can kind of pair this with at least when I saw this, the news about CDL teams being able to get sponsors from alcohol, gambling, crypto, and armed forces now.
That was cool.
I thought that's interesting. I don't know if it has any correlation. My original thought was maybe this has some correlation with teams. You know, there wasn't as much interest, or, you know, teams were struggling to find the right partners, and it was a tough spot for teams to be in because of the stricter rules about what companies could be sponsors and which ones couldn't be. So my thought process, maybe that has to correlate with trying to attract new teams to be a part of the CDL, is making it easier to find sponsorships. Like obviously New York had the DraftKings sponsorship this whole year, but it's been covered up with the tape all season long.
That is true. Like you think about the big players like you know, Cloud and all those guys that you know that are heavily invested in like in CS:GO and Valorant. They very well are probably sponsored by, you know,
these types of companies.
And they're like, there's no way we're going to enter in and not have those sponsors on our shirt. Like, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
So this could improve the
which team gets the first alcohol sponsorship? Rex, throw your bets in.
It's kind of the OpTic, right? I mean, they're doing
New
weed.
York. I'd go New York.
I could see Dallas getting one.
Yeah,
Dallas, good one. Dallas, really good.
Is it like alcohol/weed companies? Because Hecz is like,
yeah,
let's go.
Maybe that's what happened here. Is that Hecz is like, yeah, we need to start pushing like these companies forward here a little bit.
Do they allow weed sponsorships?
Not yet.
It hasn't said that yet. I mean, how would they even like word that? We allow drug sponsorships,
CBD sponsorships. Yeah, I don't know. It'd have to be something like that. I don't know. That is wild.
Here's the thing. Why wasn't, at least like alcohol, why wasn't alcohol allowed
I don't know.
right away? Because it is a rated M game.
Right.
I'm sure like since
And like Overwatch League was sponsored by Bud Light.
That's weird. And Overwatch is a younger esport than this.
I was literally just gonna say probably because Overwatch, with like rated it.
It's just
rated
weird.
T, but it's already sponsored by.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
It's
there's
been
no
sponsored
reason.
by Bud Light. I think first season it was sponsored by Bud Light.
That's freaking weird.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Maybe because like PC was more of a older person.
Isn't Tim the Tatman sponsored by Bud Light?
I think Bud Light for sure.
The Mutineers. I could see that one.
I'm sure a
Interesting.
lot of them will get sponsorships.
Yeah, I would imagine most teams will have one.
Which again only helps.
Oh yeah.
Can be phenomenal,
sure,
especially when it comes to like hosting lands and stuff.
Yeah, and
they
like
need the money.
events and doing content. I think it'll be great.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
let's be honest too. Like when you have an alcohol sponsorship, it makes you feel like this is like a serious team
It's
rather
true.
than that being sponsored by like
Insert
whatever
random company here. Yeah.
Mhm.
DoorDash or whatever.
I mean, DoorDash is pretty legit.
DoorDash,
I
by the way.
know, it's legit. But just like when it's like alcohol, it's like, oh yeah, like this is actually something like they expect people like. I don't know. It just feels like it's more grown.
Oh, for sure.
It's so well established. Like to have Bud Light or Budweiser sponsor, it's like whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I would imagine OpTic. What teams aren't? It's just weird. Like, do you allow? I guess Pepsi's different than beer. I guess you'd have both. I don't know. It's just definitely weird.
Oh, I
don't
see what
know.
you're saying.
Like Pepsi V, like drink sponsors.
Any cross?
Yeah, I don't know if that crosses or not. But
I wouldn't think
I
so.
don't know. Anyway, expansion teams.
Yes.
That'll be really frustrating if that's not the case. I would, if you had to bet your money, what do you think happens? What's the percent chance that we have at least one expansion team next year?
I am so of the mindset that there has to be expansion teams. This has to happen. It's going to happen. I'm going to will it into existence. 100%. We're seeing expansion teams.
I appreciate the optimism.
I'm willing it in. I'm sorry. I don't care.
Rex, what's your odd predictions here?
Man, I really don't know. Like we had that Rise talk where like people were saying Rise will be the next one. It's like there have been like the fact that I've heard talk of like teams being like, we want to do this. It means that there's people available. So why would a company like COD League just reject other people coming in? If there are people.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like, I mean, that's a question mark for me. I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
50-50?
Yeah, what type of
50.
fence sitting is this?
50-50.
Oh, my word.
I'm sitting fence on this one because like it's like I have nothing to go off of. You know, like I'm just like, do they do it? Do they not? Like this is very much more than just like looking at Twitter. Like this is like behind the scenes stuff. I'm just like, we haven't heard much about any of it, so I guess I would lean more towards like not having expansions because like there just hasn't been a lot of word lately.
Yeah.
I would hate that. I would be
I'll
so
be pissed
mad.
if it happens, but I'm leaning towards it's not going to happen. I think I'm at a 30% chance of expansion teams
I would be pissed.
because like
There's
legitimately
no rumors or anything. Like there's no rumors, and that's the part that's like
that's
makes
what
me be
scares
like
me.
maybe there's no expansions.
This would be about the time of year you'd start hearing like we're rolling the ball on this thing. Like you'd think we'd hear something from someone, but we haven't been from anywhere. And with Zuma saying that, I mean Zuma is going to be more connected than most when it comes to knowing about potential expansion teams. That's just really disappointing. If that's the case. I'll be pissed. I'll have some words for the COD League.
I mean, why do you think he said there's gonna be no expansions? Like, because where is he getting his information from?
Right.
Like, because I don't feel like he's talking to the
only
head of
say
CDL.
He would only say that to help the AM players to like make a decision about certain rosters or whatever, I think.
Right. And I feel like maybe teams, if there were expansions, would try talking to some of these AM players, be like, hey, we're going to expand next season. You know, keep yourself on the DL, but we want to get you when we expand.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I agree.
And maybe those are the rumors, like
that's
that
why
no one's heard anything that's making being like, I don't think there's going to be expansions. Because he hasn't heard anything says no expansions. Almost.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is like they need to like notify the team owners, right? Like, hey, we're going to expand or not going to expand, and maybe they've been talking about it.
Right. You'd imagine that decision would be made by now.
You would think so. And so I guess it is kind of worrying that we haven't like heard any leaks from any team owner.
It'd be close. It'd be about this time of year where you'd have to probably make a decision about that if you're going to try to expand this by September or October. So somewhere in there, you'd want the expansion teams to be in and announced by. So definitely tough.
Well,
not exactly
you'd probably
sure.
announce them in the off season. I don't think you would announce them before champs ended.
Well, no, champs is in August. So September, October, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's after August.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So I don't know, man. I'm a little bit worried, but we'll see. That would be so disappointing. All right, other little bits of news here. Basically, we can go to some of the pro things. What else do you want to go off of here? Oh, Hecz is launching the Ryvals website, which was a little bit interesting. So if you guys haven't caught up to this,
I found that kind of funny.
I have already secured Bash. Clean Bash.
Okay, nice.
It's just Bash.
Nice.
So I'm actually really excited. I hope this takes off because I will have Bash.
Yeah, which is what you've been waiting for.
Very excited. I literally, I think on Twitter, like I tried like X Bash X or like, they're all taken. I hated it so much, but finally a possibility of a clean username.
I secured SalvationsElite.
But yeah, this is pretty cool though.
Right. We'll see what the potential of this is. I've seen some like mixed reviews on what this is actually going to be like. So Ryvals is described as by OUT Esports as the new online competition platform, which is led by OpTic, Hecz, and other esports veterans, launching its beta on May 28th, so the end of this week. And it says it's featuring a state-of-the-art elo system that will revolutionize the way players interact. So like the question is this going to be like you search for matches and then you add the people and then you're playing now elo 8s? Or is it more like a little bit less interactive than that and not as interesting as we think?
I see what you're saying.
The thing that
it sounded like Face It to me, like in CS:GO, where like you go in there and like you get your elo through that instead of the traditional system.
The thing that makes me excited though is the possibility of this being used for a bunch of esports. So it's like there's a lot of cross contamination where it's like, hey, I know what your rank means in CS:GO because my rank is similar in Call of Duty.
Right. Yeah. Right now we don't have any type of crossover at all.
There's no like, hey, like, you know, and Halo, you're an Onyx, and Call of Duty, you're
right. And LOL, you're a Gold 3 or whatever. And
so like
COD, you're a Masters.
There's no like when it comes to the esports in general, there's no conglomerate ranking system. So this could be that, which is actually pretty exciting to think about that, where this is like going to be used.
Yeah.
I don't know like how that takes away from the game itself though. Like,
I mean,
are we saying that the game's ranking system from here on out just you know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, that's why I thought it was funny, because like Hecz and everyone has been roasting COD League for years and years and years about how bad the ranked is. Just,
and Hecz has really been vocal about that this year.
Yeah, and so like I feel like Hecz eventually was just like, you know what? I'll just do it myself for you guys, and I'll just make the money from it. And so that's what he's gonna go do. Which, mad respect, because it's something we need.
True.
Because they're not gonna do it, because they've proven they're just not gonna do it. Somebody has to do it. So Hecz decided to do it and be our hero. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, that was another thing they posted today is that Ryvals features a quick team creation system allowing users to instantly compete with their usernames in a simple click of the button with nothing else. And they're slowly putting out more information. It's still a little murky exactly about what this will look like right off the rip.
Yeah, because is it like a game battles interface where it's like you can create teams and go into it and play it, or is it simply just more of just a ranking system? It is very vague. How far in will it go?
Didn't they have something like this back in like Call of Duty 3? And that's what like Hastro and them like were using. Is that what it was? They were using that and getting their elo that way.
I know ProMod had like its own like little system for matchmaking and things like that, but I don't exactly know the whole situation there.
Because I just remember on the podcast they were just like gassing up like how great it was, how simple it was, but in like why that just can't happen now. And like this sounds like they're kind of just trying to just do that again because there's really no rank system in the game. So
oh yeah, 100%. I don't know, we'll see. I love the idea that like this is like basically like hopefully, I mean, in the ideal world, this is where you can literally solo queue league play with a real elo system, and you just have to add the people that you're playing, and that's as simple as it gets. You're playing custom lobbies, someone hosts, blah 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 blah. Like that would be fantastic. Worst case scenario is this is like a different way to play GBs with maybe a little bit more structure to how the leaderboards look. So either way, I guess it's not the worst case scenario. And if Hecz is behind it, hopefully he should be pretty receptive to helping, like, you know, provide feedback to the company and all that work. So we'll see. I'm optimistic about it, I think, moving forward, and I'll keep my eye on it. I'll be watching the career with great interest.
Absolutely. With
His career with great interest.
Oh no, the Ryvals. That was a Star Wars quote. That was a Star Wars quote.
With great interest.
Other news. The LAN in Texas gets crazy.
Wow, this was phenomenal.
Yeah, explain to the people what happened.
So pretty much, I think this was probably like one of the, if not the first major, like quote unquote major LAN to happen, and it was in Dallas or just Texas.
It was in Texas. I don't know exactly. It was run by eZone Media.
But pretty much there's just like clips coming out of teams going wild. I mean, one team is like sprinting across the room to just yell in their faces. Another clip is, I forget what his name was, but he like clips a monitor and the monitor just crashes to the ground. Because he's running to, again, scream in people's faces. I'm not sure like why their stations are so far away from each other.
Yeah.
But
COVID.
I guess so.
Yeah, COVID. And so supposedly it's because why they were so far away from each other is because it wasn't actually a LAN tournament.
Oh.
They were playing on they were playing on online.
Okay, but just
are they
together?
not allowed to do LAN because of the Call of Duty thing?
I would imagine. Yeah.
So, I mean, just to play devil's advocate here, remember that thing that happened in Indiana or whatever?
Yeah.
And like people were just
that was right when it was starting. Yeah.
Right.
And like, I mean, you know, people are kind of getting vaccinated now and everything, so maybe different times.
Right. And
But
it's Texas, everything's open there.
It sounds similar, and no one's roasting the fact that there was a LAN at all.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, the clips of it were absolutely madness.
I mean,
like,
everyone, like, basically, it's like everyone's pent up energy from all of COVID was released in these clips.
Yeah.
Like, these guys have been waiting for this moment.
I mean, I refed quite a few LAN events in my day. I've never seen this. I mean, again, we were talking about this before the show. Like, if this happened, like at a LAN event, like say it's CWL Atlanta, and you're playing in the open bracket or whatever, like, you know, you could stand up and talk and say whatever you wanted, basically, as long as it wasn't like too personal at the opposing, like you're trash, you're garbage, like you're like, you know, whatever it is. And you could scream it as loud as you wanted, as long as you're in your seat and you're just kind of standing there.
Yeah.
But like when you were going up into people's faces, like that's when you get kicked out of the venue. So it's like the fact that nothing happened here, like these people lost complete control of whatever was going on in this building. And it went nuts real quick. It was just comedy all the way through. I thought it was just hilarious.
I didn't get the sense that they shouldn't have done with Cheetah Wunger and anybody else, like getting faced like they shouldn't. I don't think it was like, I don't know.
There's a few clips.
Like
Find some of the other clips. Because some of the other clips, like there's like literally riots of them like jumping up and down, like screaming at the other people and stuff. Yeah. And like it was just going crazy. I don't know. It was just
I feel like
hilarious.
If they were across from each other, it would have been like better in that sense. Because then you just like stand up and do your thing. But like
right, they're not.
Some
they're
people
not
just
right
like
there.
Feel a desire to do that, you know. So like now that they're not right there, it's like I want to talk. You know, I want to talk. You know, crap. So you end up running across and looks way bigger than maybe, I don't know. Yeah. And I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. Sure.
No, you're good. And like part of it too, like was like one of these clips was they're playing Apocalypse. Apocalypse. And I'm pretty sure they were down 100 and some to like
comeback.
20.
Yeah.
And they came back
like 170
to
20 or something.
So that's when he freaked out and
lost his mind.
Broke the monitor, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah. But either way, it was comedy. We should watch the clips. It was a great time.
He didn't just like break the monitor because he was mad.
No, but like
you said this before the podcast, and like you just act like he meant to break it. He was
walking,
but
he just broke the monitor. Like you can't not say he broke the monitor.
I mean, he was running to the guy. He clipped it, fell on the ground, and broke.
And then he just kept running.
It's not like he punched it out of like adrenaline. It was like he was running somewhere else and kind of like tripped over the wire. And honestly, it could have happened to anyone. It's just the circumstances it was under.
No, I would say that's
somebody on that monitor that had that monitor could have stood up because they won. Like, yeah, and all of a sudden their foot kicks the wire when they're walking past, boom, and goes down. It's like, oh, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a little different when you're running towards the other team to trash talk them, and then you break the monitor, and then you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I hope he paid for it.
I imagine he ended up paying for it. But anyway. We're really tangenting today, boys. I love this. I love it. But basically, other spicy news of the week. There was a little bit of silly drama this week with Silly talking about Vivid and a little bit more clarification about why Vivid ended up getting dropped in the first place. So maybe we should, I don't know, I guess we'll just talk about this now because it's not really ROSTERMANIA anything.
Why not?
Basically, we got clarification from Methods, I think it was last week, that Methods had said that Vivid was benched because he had kind of benched himself and that he just was done playing with the team. And so Silly kind of confirmed that that basically Vivid was a little frustrated and wanted to make some changes. But then, when Vivid, supposedly Vivid wanted to drop someone, but then the team basically, and it was like, I don't know, man, I don't think we're going to drop anybody. So Vivid was like, all right, well, I'm just not going to play, supposedly. And because Silly said that they were 100% expecting to play with Vivid going into the stage. And then when Vivid ended up not being on the team, they had like 2 days to find someone else to play with. And that's why Chino got brought up. So he was kind of going at it, talking about the different issues. I always respect Silly and how willing he is to engage with people about some stuff like this. Because like very few pros dive into the Reddit and like are actually explaining things. So I do love that about Silly, that he's willing to kind of at least explain what happened. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit weird. Like with the whole situation, definitely not the cleanest of breakups, to say the least.
Yeah, very.
As a whole, I mean, any thoughts there?
Dude, what's with this thing of players willing to just bench themselves?
Yeah, we got Vivid and Decimate.
I'm honestly
They
really
team together.
frustrated with the amount of roster moves that happen now. It just like, to me, it feels like it just delegitimizes things. How am I supposed to like get attached to a team when like Ravens, how many subs are you going to have? Yeah. Like, and I understand like they have a bunch of weird things going on and whatever, but like, it's just a constant flow of new people every single stage. It's like, I 100% agree with you. There needs to be roster locks of some sort. Like it's just like, oh, we're bad. You know what? You guys suck. I'm not even playing in the pro league. It's like, why would someone be able to even have the audacity to say something like that?
Right.
Like people need to know, like, you can't just like not like it and quit. Like it's got to be more of a commitment involved, I feel like, with it. And like the Decimate thing, it's like, I don't blame the players. I just blame the system of like, how are they just allowed to do that? Why do they feel this is the better option, is to not be in the pro league? That should not be the case.
For
like
sure.
You can look at players like in football, like the Browns, like the worst team, like those players will still go and play for the Browns. I'm sure they don't really want to be on the worst team ever, but like they play,
Yeah.
Because it's better to play than not.
I 100% agree with you, but we are going to have that convo in like 5 minutes.
No, I thought that was this.
Hold on.
Well, we're about to hit the drop for that conversation. So I will 100% pick it up in 1 second when we like fully pick up that convo. Real quick, the other small piece of news before we hit up the ROSTERMANIA was that, there was Censor kind of like tweeted. I don't know if this is even news at this point, but Censor kind of replied to a tweet like, about would he ever actually buy his own team or buy into a team and invest in a team? And he didn't like say no. So, hey, watch out for maybe Censor's the expansion teams here.
Awesome.
We have Censor heading the expansion team. And then obviously real quick in Challenger stuff, basically we just have the Elite Series qualifiers happen, so we'll be having that going on. In North America, Built by Gamers, Easter, LAG Academy, Nemo, Sobriety Gaming, The System, Trash Bros, and UT Crew qualified. In Europe, it was Amelia Strays, Elevate, Hot Tub Meta, Los Pepes, Team War, The Originals, Orglis, and Maverick Gaming Club with the epic Maverick logo of Zeus, or
It is pretty cool.
Poseidon, which we talked about before. So it'll be pretty interesting as a whole, like a lot of roster changes with challengers, but we've been going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk more about it today, but we've been going on so much. We keep freaking burying challengers. We just need to literally decide on a weekend. We're like, this is challengers
All
week.
challengers.
Yeah. Oh my word. But all right, there it is. Now we're hitting the drop. We're talking ROSTERMANIA, Rex. We will oblige you for sure. Let's get right into it. Let's go.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Alrighty, my goodness. This is some spicy news. Some may say hot. It was a hot week of news and obviously capped off by HUKE. So before we talk about HUKE, we'll continue Rex's conversation real quick. So I 100% agree with you when it comes to the issue of teams breaking up really, really quickly. Obviously, this is going to lead into LA Thieves and the HUKE conversation here. And what we're going to be doing in this segment is we're going to be talking about the ROSTERMANIA news. And then we're also going to talk about some run it back teams and talk about some of the original rosters of London, LA Thieves, and New York. The three teams who have made kind of like the biggest changes throughout, or the most changes throughout the year, technically so far this year. And kind of talk about their transition of rosters and what it looks like moving into this situation. So with that conversation, specifically, I guess you can start with, like London and
London. Like, let's just talk about how,
let's talk about
like,
London.
It's just the amount of roster changes. There's too many, way too many going on for something that we're trying to like legitimize as an esport, right? London, six roster
different
changes.
rosters.
6 different rosters. That's insane.
Some
How many
were
stages?
out of their control, though.
I know, and I gave London a little bit of break in there, but like 6 roster changes. We haven't even had that many stages. Like, I feel like a team should like be. And then LA Thieves, 5 roster changes. NYSL, 4 roster changes. Seattle is going to be what? This is going to be their 6th roster change.
Yeah, I mean, well, multiple for Seattle, multiple for Paris, multiple for LAG, like over the span of the past few years. Yeah, I mean, Dallas. Obviously, you got the Rocker
now.
Oh, yeah.
Like
100%.
Like you need to at least make these teams like stay together for a whole stage or something.
I mean, we had fans calling for OUT OpTic to drop someone. That's what was happening because we'd seen so many teams have these magical turnarounds that fans started to believe that, okay, we can make OUT OpTic better by dropping someone right now. I mean, man, that's tough an argument to make. And then they come out and they show why maybe you shouldn't drop really, really good players when they're in a little bit of a slump.
I mean, that's the hope, right? And like, that's one of my biggest fears is that like maybe the real game of this is just keep switching out new people. So like you always have a honeymoon going, or so you always have some fresh face in there that has more fire in the belly or whatever it is, that just all of a sudden a rookie guy comes in and just turns the whole team around. Like, are the pros, the veterans, really that much worse than these AM players? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, and it just upsets me how one person will just 360 a whole team. Like, let's look at Toronto. Like, they bring in Insight, all of a sudden they're a #1 team.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, to be fair,
what in the world is happening? Like, why is one person making all the difference? Which, sure, like somebody can be that great,
and
but
Insight has been that
there
great.
should not be that many people who are that great for their team.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I said, I do think this is kind of the result of a long-term process of not really bringing in the young talent for a few years. I mean, obviously in BO4, we saw some really impressive players have their debuts in the CDL, and they were really, really good. And then you go into Modern Warfare, a few more guys finally get in, and then now you're here in Cold War, and we've seen now some massive names or massive players make huge impacts as rookies. So it's like there was kind of like this big barrier of talent in the challengers that had been getting pretty insane. And my biggest question is, do these younger players help teams more earlier in the years because challengers teams are playing so much more competitive match COD early in the years? That's my question, is that maybe the youthful players actually help them more early, and then as the year goes along, you're less likely to help them because the pros are starting to catch up.
Honestly, it feels like it in a weird way. It's like when you're in the CDL, you have sort of more of like, you already know what's going to happen. Like for the future, it's like, I got this match, you keep going. In the passion pit, or what we like to call the challenger scene.
Yeah.
It's nothing is for sure. Nothing is for sure. So
nothing.
So that's why it's the passion pit. Cause like, if you're there, like nothing's guaranteed. In the CDL, things are more guaranteed, which I think can breed a sense of complacency. And maybe that's why some of these AMs are just more ahead of the game.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, is that you bring in the AM, and then like suddenly the AM's like, yo, there's this thing about this part of the game and this thing about this part of the game, and like this spot in this place, or this strat insertion destroy that I saw this team run. That like they've played so much more competitive COD against so many random players out there this year that they do bring some value early on into rosters as they join. And then you start seeing the growth start evening off, and then you're back to grinding it out like every other pro roster.
Yeah.
Then maybe that could explain like Minnesota's quick turnaround of like the honeymoon period with these amateur players. And then, but there are just some guys that are that transformational, guys like Insight, who have quite literally been maybe the best AR this whole season, at least the most consistent AR this whole season since he's joined. And, you look at Hydra, he is an X factor on the map when it just comes to like winning the gunfight, getting the 2-piece, the 3-piece that can change the game. So it's like there are like the transformational talents. And then there's guys that, like you bring in like a Diamond Con who was grinding the crap out of the game in the scene early. And then suddenly New York looks incredible. There's these insanely great like team that plays great. And then things start leveling off and you're like, I don't know. And then you bring in a playmaker like Hydra. So I just think that there might be more to it than just honeymoon period. Like what causes the honeymoon period? I think it might have to do with some of that game experience that these younger guys are bringing to the table because of how much COD they've played.
Right. It just feels like teams are not really thinking about the long term. Everybody just wants to win their next stage. Everyone just wants to just get some wins under your belt. That's all we want. We don't care about the year. We don't care about next year. Just win now. If you're not winning now, we'll just change it. It's like, whoa, like, I don't know. I just don't like that mentality behind it because how is someone supposed to build a dynasty team? Like, FaZe can build a dynasty team because they are good. But once FaZe is like maybe not so great, they'll be like, okay, we're just going to make a change. It's like, well, like, I want to see the climb out of the pit. I want to see a little more involved with that.
For sure.
You wonder...
And all of a sudden they exchange one person and all of a sudden they're back to being good again. It's like, well, this was not any story arc that is really enjoyable because everything just like happens instantly.
You wonder how much of it too is just the budding stage of the league where you have investors, you have these teams that aren't very well established, right? Disregarding the teams like OpTic, FaZe, and Empire who have made the least amount of changes. Empire obviously made the one,
right?
But
OpTic and FaZe especially, who haven't made a change.
Exactly.
Well, Empire made 2, but yeah.
Well, yeah, now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you wonder if that has a role in it where they need to see a change or they need to see improvements right away to keep investment in, or I don't fully understand how much of it plays into like, sponsors keeping them in the league,
keeping fans engaged,
all that. But you wonder just from the league being so young still that teams are needing to see these improvements right away to keep engagement up or whatever.
Right. I mean, teams need to be in a win mountain mode right now, especially.
Exactly. Whereas, later down the road when we have 16, 20 some teams, whatever, they'll be able to kind of settle down and be okay. We will stick with this 4 squad through the valleys and highs and lows of the whole year. I don't know. I don't know how much of that plays into them, where they need to see these quick changes right away.
For sure,
just because of
the situation,
the situation that the league's in right now, where it's it's a young league. It's all in line for now. Obviously, land's coming later, so I don't know. That's another angle to look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Where it's not just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that angle as long as at some point things settle down. I hope we're not every year we're getting 6 or 7 roster changes for one team.
I agree.
Where it's new players every time.
I'm loving it. I'm all about this. Like, give me some more.
I mean, it's kind of fun. It's like a quick hit, but like, there's no story arc to follow. There's no story arc to follow.
So let's specifically talk about the big news of the day now. So before we talk about any other teams and about, John and everything else, let's talk HUKE benched by LA Thieves. What?
Insane.
This is getting insane, boys. So right before we started recording, like I said earlier in the podcast, right before, like 10 minutes. We were maybe 5 minutes. We were about to record. And we checked Twitter and I'm like, yo, check what LA Thieves just tweeted. And they tweeted, our LA Thieves starting roster going into stage 4 will be Quavo, Draza, Venom, and Tej. HUKE will be moved to sub for this week. So JCap then said, we haven't been seeing the same level of consistency as a team, and with stage 4 starting, we decided to make the tough call to bring Tej back and improve upon where we last left off with him. So what is your initial instinct with this move, Rex? How you feel about the sudden changes again that we we're just talking about, and in comparison to where they were before moving into this? Where you at with this, Rex?
I think I don't really think it's going to make a huge difference on the team, to be honest. I think they're gonna be playing up to the level that they were. I think you had Tej before, and they were good. And then they put in HUKE, and they were still good. And then they're bringing Tej back, and they'll probably still be good. Like, they're still, I think, going to remain being that wall that people are trying to surpass. I don't see this magically sending them up to the number 1 spot. It could happen because Thieves was already a team that had the potential to do something like that. But I just see this as a lateral move, honestly.
Right. I mean, the question is, do you buy JCap's reasoning there? Like, is HUKE, why is HUKE not a good fit? What's the issue there? Because obviously, I mean, going in, before they brought HUKE in, they were coming off the season 2 major where they had beat the Legion 3-0, they beat London 3-2, and then they beat the Subliners before Hydra came in 3-0. Then they got 3-0'd by the Ultra. And then at the beginning of stage 3, they 3-1 Surge and they 3-1 the Ravens. So, I put them at top 4 in my power rankings at that point based off of their wins against Legion, Ravens, a Subliners team that was struggling at that point before bringing in Hydra, and then a win against the Surge and another win against the Ravens. So they hadn't beat a team that most people would have seen as a top 8 team. But besides New York, before they brought in Hydra, when New York was on a little bit of a struggle bus.
So we didn't even see HUKE play against a top team.
Right. Well, yeah. Then we saw. Then after that, they played FaZe and they played OUT OpTic. They lost to FaZe 3-2. Then they beat the OUT OpTic, who looked awful at that point, who's losing to everyone. They beat them 3-1. And then HUKE came in, played the Subliners in his debut series, lost 3-1. Then they lost to the Mutineers 3-1. Then they beat the Ravens 3-0 in that dominant series after London had said that they were going to come out and beat them 3-0. And then they got absolutely body bagged by the Ultra in that series. So apparently the body bagging by the Ultra was enough to convince them that HUKE had no chance to be the right fit. Obviously, JCap has watched a lot more COD than us of this team, considering we've only seen 4 matches with HUKE. He's been watching scrims for the past, multiple weeks now. And so he's been seeing a lot more than that. So, I mean, I am inclined to trust them on this move because they've seen so much more COD than us. But besides the Ultra series, I saw a lot of promise with HUKE in that roster. And I thought they had a legit chance, but maybe just because they felt like they're that far away from the title, maybe something had to change. With all that said, Sam, where you at this?
The problem I have with this is the amount of money you paid for this player.
They paid a lot of freaking money.
You paid a lot of money. You have Nadeshot come on the OUT OpTic podcast and say, this is a player you build a franchise around. You had those 2 things. And if that was even a possibility of benching him, if that was even an inkling, why would you ever go through with that? Why would you at this stage buy this player?
Right. What was the expectation going into it then?
To me, their expectation was you build around this player right now, going forward, even if you don't see results right away.
But obviously not.
But obviously not. So it doesn't make sense when you look at it from the fact that they bought this player wanting to build around him.
That was just a bold-faced lie then. Or there was a miscommunication between Nadeshot and Muddog and JCap.
Exactly. That's where I'm at right now. It doesn't make sense. It seemed like Thieves could have been improving without even buying HUKE, right?
For sure. They were on the upwards trend.
They were on the upward trend.
We hadn't seen them beat a top 7 team yet.
No. So they were looking.
I mean, well, again, Subliners was a win. It was an impressive win, but it depends how bad was Subliners playing that series. When I watched that, they played on 3 straight checkmates, and that was LA Thieves by far best map, and Subliners ego chowed them in that series on Thieves by far best map. So it's that's why I kind of wishy-washy about that series. and don't see it as impressive as some people might. Anyway, long story short, I 100% agree with you. This makes me question whose decision was it to bring in HUKE in the first place? Yeah. Did JCap and Muddog have any interest at all in bringing HUKE in and actually wanting to build around them? Or was this straight up Nate's shot?
Just buying them and then...
Because it's like, what, did the players want him? Because obviously the players hadn't been vibing. They were, they were just letting it fly with the squad. And
I was gonna say,
I don't know. Rex, what's your instinct with that?
HUKE's going to end up back on the Empire.
What?
I don't know. That's I mean...
Oh, wait,
it just doesn't seem right.
Oh, Rex, you were right about the prediction of the breaking news of the week where you predicted that, what we're going to talk about in a second with Vivid going to Dallas. You predicted that right. So congrats on that.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's you just read it like a book. You could just see it. And HUKE going back to Dallas, it's in writing. It's gonna happen.
What? That would be so this season or after champs.
I mean, it depends how well Dallas does with Vivid,
right?
But I don't imagine they're gonna do that much better. And then I feel HUKE. I mean, it just HUKE not being on Envy and now Dallas is just strange.
HUKE going back really to Dallas would be about the spiciest thing I've ever seen in my life. That would be if you predict that right, like that's a bet right there. I'm willing to make.
I mean, do you think HUKE ends up on another team? Right?
No,
you don't think so. You think he's just stuck in
Florida is the only option at this point. Florida is the only option at this point,
and it would have to be alone.
Alone,
they can't buy HUKE.
No chance. They would loan HUKE to Florida. But the thing is, Florida's right now in 8th place. LA Thieves are in sixth place. They are 50 points ahead of Florida. So they're pretty comfortably in champs at this point. I mean, things would have to go pretty... LAG would have to make an insane run, probably. I mean, LAG, Minnesota, and Florida would have to make a pretty insane run to knock them out of champs. So they're pretty safe with their spot. Florida's a team that's like, oh, goodness. If we start losing here, they'd be willing to make a change at the end, in the middle of stage 4, I think. So that'd be my only prediction, is that HUKE could go to Florida. Besides that, I think Dallas is pretty stuck with their spot. But anyway, I mean, when you watch this LA Thieves team the past few weeks, when you watch they're getting absolutely bodied by Toronto, did you see HUKE like as a long-term fix at that point? Was that wavering for you? Was Venom an option to bet? Are you a little bit like what Venom? Like Venom and Tiege? Where you at that?
To me, I saw a team that had just made a change. I don't understand this. Obviously, yes, HUKE is an insane talent, but he was benched. He wasn't playing for a little bit. You move him onto this new roster. A new chemistry has to form. I don't understand the expectation of beating those teams. I don't understand. They weren't going to beat Subliners. They weren't going to beat Ultra.
Right.
Mutineers was definitely a shock.
Mutineers was tough, but they lost around 11.
But yeah,
and they lost by under 50 points in both hard points.
So to me, when you see the loss to Subliners and just Ultra, that's expected at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it feels like teams like.
I mean, the Ultra loss was.
It was rough.
They're not being realistic with themselves. Almost like you just have to know where you're at as a team and build from there. Don't focus on we're winning champs. You got to focus on we want to be able to beat, Toronto, or we want to be able to get. Beat this team. We just want to get up one more ranking or whatever it is. But like just focusing strictly on just like, we have to win world champs. That's what we are. We're world champs. It's like, I mean, great, I guess, but be realistic. So you're not so let down with the inevitable happening.
I mean, the last time that they played the Ultra, they lost 3-0. Then they lost 3-1. I mean, hey, at least they won the S&D. I mean, it was around 11 that they lost in the 3-0, but I mean, hey, they won. They actually technically improved, even though, the hard points were pure. I mean, they got 500 to 95. It
just feels like teams are looking for their magic pill that's just going to make everything better. Like they're just looking for we just need our magic person that's just going to fix it all. And they just keep changing things until somebody comes along. It's like, hey, I'm magic. It's like, oh, great. Now we're a really good team. It's like, you just kept searching around for your magic guy. Which,
Yeah.
like, great, you found a magic guy, but, like, how long is that going to last? We can look at Standy. Like, he's looking good, but now the team is kind of, we don't know really where they're at anymore.
No, yeah, the Rockers the best example. I mean, they dominate, sure, but now, they had to make another change. And accuracy was playing terrible. So it's like, okay,
I mean, there's something to be said about veteran leadership, and there's something to be said about the veterans. And it just feels like we're just like, the league and these teams are just kind of like throwing that to the side now, as if like it doesn't mean anything, or at least that's how it feels to me. And that's why I just waver on it, because like maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not getting this like they're getting it. Like maybe you do just have to keep picking up all-stars every single year, and that's the only way you're ever going to be good at COD.
Well,
like,
definitely that's not the case though. At the end of the day, it's like, with at least with LA Thieves, you're dealing with two specific unique cases here where they're trading out two veterans, Tej and HUKE, for each other. Would I be inclined to at least see what it would look like with Venom not there? Maybe, but I don't think this roster needed a change. I like Venom. I think he's a pretty good player
for sure.
And I don't think we've seen the best of Venom yet.
I don't think so either.
I totally
like
understand
Venom.
why they wouldn't want to bench him, but like, do you
Venom
really?
does what needs to be done. That's what it feels like to me. Like he does some of the dirty work. He's very, I feel like, a giving player.
I agree. And like, so maybe, I understand the idea that, okay, maybe Tej had more chemistry, but at the same time, Tej and Kenny have been playing together for a year and a half now. So yeah, of course they're gonna have a lot of chemistry. Like HUKE's been playing with the same Dallas team for 2 years now. So I agree. I can't believe they're making a change this quickly before stage 4 even starts. Shocking. I can't believe that they wouldn't wait around for at least a little bit and give themselves a go. But I'm sure Sam's already thinking about how long this episode's going to go, because
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But
we need roster locks. 14-day contracts suck. And we were wrong. Sometimes the people are wrong. Sometimes we don't know what we want. 14-day contracts, I don't want them anymore. Like, this is too much.
So LA Thieves plays Surge this weekend. So it's like, they're going to win. And then they're going to come out with Tej. They're going to win it and be like, look, we improved.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
of course. It's
so
Surge.
dumb. Yeah, I think it's freaking stupid. And
where's the story arc? Like,
yeah. And then they play Paris. So they're going to win their first 2 matches against Paris and against Seattle and say that they improved. Where like they could have used those matches to start spinning the wheels with HUKE, and then you play against FaZe, and that's where you test yourself. And if they get bodied by FaZe again, then I could see a consideration for changing for the final time, sticking with Tej, and then going from there. But like, the fact that you're willing to make the change now seems just,
after that investment that you made,
after the investment makes
no sense.
So we're spinning our wheels a little bit probably at this point, but I didn't see the justification in the gameplay against the teams that they should beat. Florida was a tough one, but again, it was the second series with it's like
early.
The move puzzles me.
Too early.
Exactly. Like what happened to the too early things? When they go in, they're just not going to be as good. Like, this is the first time they're playing together, and we gave NYSL that credit. NYSL kind of ran with that, and then but like these other teams, they just refuse to run with that. It's like, we got stopped. We lost. All right, change. It's like,
change right away.
One loss is not like going to break you. Like. I don't know. Sometimes you lose the ones you're not supposed to lose, and it just happens.
I agree. So, other news, I guess, again, Dallas. Vivid went to Dallas. Obviously, there's been a lot of news about this. We don't have to talk about this too long. We're going to talk about Dallas here in a second with the predictions. But pretty crazy. At the end of the day, it's like, it makes sense. They needed a different change. They benched Fellow. They brought in Vivid. I guess, Vex, you already mentioned that you don't think it's going to make a massive difference. But like, does it at least intrigue
Vivid
you?
And are you talking about?
Vivid,
I think the
Vivid
HUKE
for
TJ
Philo.
one, Vivid and Fellow. I don't know, man.
So obviously, Illy's back to AR again. Thoughts on Illy as AR with Vivid now and as the co-SMG, looking a lot like HUKE out there.
I know, right? It seems like Vivid might, from what we've heard about Vivid, he might have the same issue HUKE had with the team already.
Right. To be fair,
like he's going rogue or he's going overextending too much or whatever. And Vivid with all of his engagement,
HUKE does like playing.
Stats everyone likes to flaunt.
HUKE's more like the solo ISO player that likes to play on one side of the map or like, hit those flanks. Vivid's not as much the flank guy. He's more like the bully up front, bait and trade type player. So it could play off Shotzzy more effectively than HUKE did in this game. So I could see the argument there, and that's where I get a little bit interested at least. But
I'm
yeah,
interested too.
but
It could be better.
I do like Illy on AR better.
I agree. In this game for sure.
Yes. I think when we've seen him pull out the Krig, we've seen better results than when we've seen him use They Get Sending For You. I don't know. I've that's been the case.
At least more consistent results.
Exactly.
More consistent.
He hasn't been
But he also
great
played
by any
AR
means.
way longer. Like
Yeah.
how long did he run a sub?
Right,
Like,
that's
Mhm.
true. I didn't. Again, that was another situation where like I just didn't think Fellow had the upside that they needed as a
Mhm.
player. Where like I would have preferred if it was me, I would prefer to bring in Gravity and
for
just
Krim.
for Fellow and just let them kind of roll with it and then see what happens and then let Illy continue to ride it out. But again, Vivid's so interesting of a player that like we haven't seen him play with a great team before. We've seen him play on like maybe where he is kind of like the by far the fastest with LAG situation, like even last year. So the
Is
upside
it
of having
weird
Vivid here,
that I
it gets
think
pretty interesting.
Is it weird that I think Vivid and Krim are like can be like good friends somehow? Like based off the limited
Interesting.
amounts of personality I know about them,
I can see it.
Just looking at them, I'm like, they look like they could be friends. So like maybe it works out because of that.
But I like the idea.
But that is a good case though, where we've only seen him on LAG.
Right. So this will
And-
be interesting. This is why I'm really
Yeah.
excited about it
Mhm.
because we've never seen like can the better teammates where they are more individually talented than what we saw
Mhm.
before. I mean, that's just kind of obvious at this point, at least with Shotzi, hopefully, and Illy. Can
And-
that unlock something?
And they're willing to play faster with him than LAG would have been too.
Yeah, for
For
sure.
sure.
Yeah, it's gonna get really, really fun. So I'm
like
looking
it.
forward to that one. It's gonna be a blast, obviously. Afro's on his way here, so we're gonna get that Afro squad with London. And the other topic was that John basically said that he turned down offers from teams, and so this was kind of the debate that we had about at this point in the year. Would John rather make money in the AM scene and be the favorite to win AM champs, where he's probably going to make more money than he would on a half season contract with the Seattle Surge.
And then not to mention too, when you come in and things don't change, you look bad too.
Right. And they weren't going to offer him probably a full-time contract off the rip. It would have been in two-week contracts to prove it.
Mhm.
But then you throw away your roster that you have in the AM scene. So it's a tough spot for any amateur player to be in right now. And that's why that's why a lot of AM players are turning down these offers.
Dude, that's so sad. Like, I mean, I'm just heated about this, but like players being able to turn down offers, players being able to flake on a team, and because they feel it's more beneficial to not be on a pro team and play in a semi-pro
Yeah.
team. Like, that's sad. That's just sad. And it's like, it's not a knock against the player. It's just the system. And it's not a knock against the teams. It's just the system. It's just wrong.
Right.
And,
Again, if there were 16 teams, it would be different.
Yes.
But that's the thing. The amateur scene's looking forward and hoping and praying that next year we get 4 expansion teams, and then literally the top 3 or 4 teams from the AM scene are getting picked up to make rosters. That's what they're hoping for.
Man, like what happened to like this is the opportunity of a lifetime to get in the pro scene, and people are like, nah, you know what? No, it's gonna make my stock look bad. It's like, why do all of a sudden semi-pros have the power?
Yeah, it's pretty
You
crazy.
know what I mean?
And that's it's the power of expansions, and that's really what it is. Easter's hoping that there's an expansion team and they get picked up as a squad of 4 heading into next year. That's
Which
the hope.
makes so much sense. But I get your point though, Rex, where it seems crazy. In any other sport, you get an opportunity
Yeah.
in the big leagues, you're taking it
Oh yeah.
no matter what. But here, stock matters so much that it's more beneficial to you as a player to win it
And let the what if
challengers.
just boil.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's actually wild.
Crazy.
But yeah, we'll talk more about that next week. We are going to do a whole little segment on like talking about past rosters from London, LA Thieves, and NYSL. But if we do that, this will be
This will be
the
a 2-hour
never-ending
podcast.
podcast.
This just like makes me so mad. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't like it. I don't like
It's
it.
insane.
Please lock rosters for a whole stage or something, because like it's ridiculous.
So the last thing here is Classic signing with, of course, with Seattle. Obviously, Zaptius is now going to be on Paris, and Classic's on Seattle.
Well,
And-
Zaptius to Paris is hearsay,
Well,
right?
well,
It's
right.
CDL Intel. So
Sure,
probably
but it's
pretty
going to
good.
happen.
Probably
Yeah.
right.
Anyway, long story short, thoughts on Classic to Seattle. Bro, the
Good
memes on
move
Reddit.
for Seattle. Love it, honestly.
I would love to hear your opinion. Fire away, Rex.
Well, I think Classics looked really good for the Legion, honestly. I'm surprised Legion gave up Classic.
Yeah.
Classic's been playing really, really well. And then I feel like he can pair up well with Pristini. I think he's also a player that is, it seems like he can slay in this game, but he also he can play for the team. Like, I don't know, with them more. Very team-oriented player as well. Sacrificial, I guess. And I don't know.
Wouldn't you rather have Decimate?
I don't know. From what we saw from Decimate, it didn't seem like it was anything too grand. And I already know we're getting from Classic. And Classic's playing on a team that's already pretty bad, and he looks good on a team that looks bad. Like, Classic could go to a better... I could see Classic on a team maybe like Rocker and fitting in just fine.
I mean, my thing is just like, for Seattle, what they need is... I mean, they are how many points off out of champs at this point? They're like... a lot of points off champs at this point. I don't have the standings up right now. But they need a lot of points, like 70 or so to get to champs. And so it's like, is Classic the upside move to get them there? They are 70 points out of champs right now.
Yep. Seattle is very stubborn. Well, I bet you anything goes back to that roster discussion. No AM player wanted to go play for Seattle.
Yeah, that's what happened. So John, the whole Easter team turned them down. That's obviously what happened here. Vivid couldn't make that move happen.
Yeah.
Whether that was Vivid doing that or if it was just
that would have been a good move if they could have gotten Vivid.
I agree.
That would have been a great
What's
move.
wrong with Classic? I like Classic.
But
I think Classic's going to be good for the team.
You
just know
too.
what you're going to get. That's the thing. And
I don't know.
There's a ceiling to Classic. There's a ceiling that we know of.
I feel like Classic looks better this year than what we saw last year.
I agree.
And you liked him a lot last year, Sam, and I think he looked better than he did last year.
No,
I think he got better.
I agree, but again, like we said, he is
at this point they're in
Seattle
desperation
is
mode.
Last in the standings.
They're 70 points out with two events remaining. They'd have to win one of the events or get top 3.
I suppose if you're
like, who else do they get though? Like who else is going to go?
Is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, there was no one else they could get to get them into COD champs.
Oh,
so
sure.
why not sign Doug Censor Martin?
No, I see that is
on board.
This Reddit post was very interesting.
Very good, dude.
Why
that Reddit
not
post was
do
fire.
it? Why not? You get Doug.
You're so screwed
at the bare minimum, 50K or whatever, and like you just rock with it. And then worst comes to worst, you don't make champs. You're already not making champs.
And you post every single video on YouTube.
Oh, for
Octane
sure.
has tons of content. You're building a brand. Like at that point, why not? It would be pure comedy.
Be the meme team.
Yeah.
You can be the meme team. And like people love meme teams. Shanghai Dragons and Overwatch League Season 1, they won, I think, zero games and almost 0 maps. And people love them. They're literally like a fan favorite team.
That is so tough. Yeah, I mean, that would literally be what would happen there.
Oh, for sure.
And it'd be great. I'd love every second of it. So that would be the play. I would absolutely love that, but obviously not what happened. At the end of the day, Rex, maybe you're a little bit more optimistic about Seattle now, but this isn't going to get them to champs. They're 70 points back with 2 stages left.
That's the thing. I mean, going back to this, not everybody can be gunning for champs like that. If I was Seattle, at least try and get a roster that you can kind of stabilize and you feel like there's some upward potential here. I think Classic's a player that you can add to that roster and be like, okay,
Makes
there's something we can work with. Yeah, it makes you competitive. And maybe the goal can be, we just want to get to champs. So like that's already a huge goal to have, but don't focus on anything else. But like, what do we need to do to just make it to champs? Not trying to win champs, because like, let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole other conversation for another podcast.
Instead of just being let down all the time.
Yeah, a whole other podcast conversation, but Gunless is in a really tough spot heading into next year, and Pristini. They're going to be in a really tough spot heading into next year.
Stock-wise?
Maybe because hopefully they signed 2-year contracts for Seattle. I don't know, but Octane's contract could be up this year. Let's be honest, he's probably going to LA Thieves. That would only make a ton of sense, but we'll see. Anyway, I think with that said, that's a good place to end it. We can head straight into our predictions. It's going to be a long one today. Let's get into it, boys. Let's go into the predictions. Best in the game. Let's get it. Okie dokie. Prediction time. It's
We're
finally here. We're going to be talking about some interesting matchups today with the matches starting on Thursday, of course, for week 1 of stage 4. And this stage finally culminates, climaxes into a stage 4 LAN, baby. And it's going to be a blast. So the first match leading into our lands of the stage is Paris versus Atlanta. Zaptius' supposed debut against Atlanta. And it's going to be interesting. So thoughts on this one, Rex? Fire away. Where you at?
I mean, sucks for Zaptius, kind of, but he's already been in the Pro League a while. I think he can be a benefit to this team. I'm going to say Atlanta 3-1. I think Paris will pull off a map and it'll be like a honeymoon win map.
What are you typing?
Yeah, so I'm going Atlanta 3-2. So this is because we saw what Atlanta did after their last championship run. We're going to see Standoff in this series. We're going to see Standoff in this series for sure, guaranteed.
Okay.
They're going to play some weird maps. I bet we see Miami and Standoff in this series, and Atlanta clutches on Standoff game 5. Why not? YOLO. 3-2 Atlanta.
Oh my gosh. There's no way. They're
going to work on their map pool. Atlanta's going to go back to the drawing board and start working on their map pool again.
This is going to be a 3-0. I don't even care. What? No. I'm not even explaining that one.
Yeah? Just a hot 3-0.
It's a hot 3-0.
Steamy hot. Celium's dropping streaks. Abizi's dropping streaks.
Especially with the roster change. That's a whole new chemistry that you got to work around. Yeah,
I think Zap's a good addition. I think each team needed something individually different, and I think Zaptius can provide something fresh and new and he's just a younger player for Paris, and then Classic is going to be something that's more stable, more controlled, and something that can play up and compete with
on a
these
consistent
higher-level
basis,
characters, but still having that veteran mind shift that
fair.
I think Seattle needs.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. 3-0.
Zap and Temp are going to clash.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Zap's a pretty passive guy, though. Zap's kind of passive. He kind of just chill. He just chills. I don't know.
I think Zap's not going to say much. I think Zap's a pretty passive dude.
Yeah.
But
All right, here we are. Map 2, or game 2, Florida v Toronto then. Gets a little interesting as well. I really like this matchup. I mean, Florida, let's see. In their most recent matchups, Florida, obviously with Havoc now in the lineup, they had a tough go at the major, of course, where, they beat the Thieves. Everyone was hyped about that. Then they got smoked by Subliners, pretty much smoked by OUT OpTic. There was around 11 on raid, though, which was really, really close. I'm not high on this team still. As a roster, I would love to see a different player come in for Havoc. That's where, like, if John was to get an offer, I'm shocked. If John has got an offer from Florida and he turned it down, that's shocking.
Yeah.
Because I think they'd have a legit chance at champs with John on that roster. We'll see. HUKE would be a ton of fun, and I would love to see it. I'm going a 3-0 Toronto.
Really?
3-1.
You just gas up Florida like that. And
Toronto, 3-1. Toronto, I mean, I just think Toronto's legitimately an unbelievably great team, and we saw that again at the major. They were right there the whole weekend and dominant in so many maps. That's why.
No, I'm going to agree with you on that one, Josh. I think Toronto is, they seem like a stabilized, good team, like great team. Like they're just going to be tough to beat, much like a FaZe.
We'll see Standoff in this series too.
But Toronto has that like controlled aspect to them that FaZe doesn't. FaZe thrives in chaos, where Toronto thrives in literally pacing the game.
Right.
And Toronto's really good at just controlling the pace of the game. So.
Yeah.
And Florida just seems like team of talented players, but there's something overarchingly that's just not working.
Sam?
Probably crazy, but I think Mutineers could take a hard point.
Really?
Off of Toronto.
Well, when we saw Toronto show some signs of vulnerability in the major, I mean, for sure. Like,
yeah.
They went the distance with OUTTic, and OUTTic took both hard points off of them in that series, and that was shocking. And that's, I would imagine that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah.
But OUTTic did kind of unlock something in that series. I don't know.
Yeah.
So where are you going with?
I'm gonna go Toronto 3-1.
Okay, so you're still going 3-1. Okay, that's fair. I'm surprised you wouldn't go 3-2 then. But either way, okay. London v Dallas, another very interesting match. Obviously, Vivid's debut here against London with 3 debuts. Well, sort of. Alex, Afro, and Vivid's debuts on the new rosters here. So where are you at this team? It's so hard to know what's happening in this series. This is a complete toss-up.
This series is going to be like, what do you even bring into this?
It's probably the one I'm most excited for all weekend, obviously besides probably Chicago v Atlanta, but yeah, that's a really fun one. I mean, based off what I saw from today, I was watching the Dallas scrims versus Easter with John because CDL Intel tweeted it out. But I liked what I saw. Overall, though, Easter was playing it pretty competitively. I'm going to take Dallas probably winning, probably playing pretty well in the respawns as a whole, though. I'd imagine this goes 3-1, but man, this could go either way. This is by no means a close or a blowout. You know, this could go either way.
The real trick here is how good is Afro going to be? He's the mystery character. For sure. That it's like, if it was anybody else, I would just say Dallas probably like 3-1. But if it's Afro, do we have another Hydra situation going on? And I was already really high on London before. Just like I just saw steady growth, and I can't believe they made a change still, kind of. But then Alex again, sort of a question mark. I just don't know how much Alex has been playing.
There's so many question marks. There's a lot of question marks.
In mind, I guess due to Alex a little bit, I'm going to say a Dallas 3. Yeah, Dallas 3.
Dallas is S&D. I'm really excited to see it with Vivid. I mean, the S&D, Vivid's been so good in Search and Destroy, even dating back to last year. So
absolutely,
I'm really excited to see Dallas with this type of roster with Search and Destroy and how Shotzi plays off of him in S&D specifically. Thoughts, Sam? What are you at with this?
Ravens are going to take the control, and they're going to take a hard point.
So you see this going game 5?
I see this going game 5.
Dallas has got to be the better S&D team right now.
I think Dallas 3-2.
Yeah, very possible.
Because Dallas have been utter trash at control stage 3. They're 1-6.
Yeah, and London's been great.
Exactly. So it's going to be a close game. It's going to be, again, I am assuming Vivid's going to pair well with Dallas, and also assuming Afro is not going to make a huge difference right away. But I could be completely wrong.
London could easily win this.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
I'm not. That's not.
I don't love that all three of us have Dallas because London could easily win. But
I almost put London, but honestly, Alex is the one that I just.
Yeah, there's just too many question marks.
I don't believe in Alex. If I'm being completely honest, I just don't believe in him. The thing is,
if I had $50 right now, it's like I'm going with Dallas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
how
definitely.
How do you place that on London right now?
Yeah, and we haven't seen one scrim of them. We have no clue how they're playing. But anyway, all right, Minnesota, Chicago. All right, what do you believe about this Minnesota roster with Major Maniac? Where are you at with OpTic right now? The respawns. We've seen the bounce back with OpTic and respawns. And, I would imagine all teams are going to will be taking, these matchups pretty seriously for both sides. You're trying to find that space in this group. You've got some tough matchups that groups are obviously really, really balanced. We didn't even talk about the groups. Oh my goodness, this podcast has been insane.
It's been ridiculous.
All right. I think OpTic is on the right track now. They finally found a groove. This would be very OpTic of them to end up getting smoked in this series, but I'm going to go OpTic winning 3-1, taking
OpTic 3-1.
Both hard points as well. Are we all going to be on the same page here?
I think it's going to be OpTic 3-0, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, the reason I say that is Rocker was that way with Major Maniac. They were a pretty terrible hardpoint team, obviously, and then
the roles are so much different now, though.
It's true. I just don't know if it was all on accuracy was the reason why they were struggling so bad.
I don't think it was.
I think there was a lot to do with how they played. Obviously, when Standy first came on, they transformed.
Well, their S&D was horrible.
Yeah.
So you could see the bounce back here. I could see Rocker winning 3-2. It's not the craziest thing ever, but it's just so hard to predict after Chicago playing so well in the major.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with it 3-0.
If I was betting, I would imagine the odds are pretty heavily favored OpTic. I would take the money on Rocker here winning 3-2.
Really?
But if I'm trying to predict the right outcome, I'm going Chicago 3-1. So that's the interesting matchup. This is to be fair, that's a very fun matchup. You have London, Dallas, and then are those both on Friday? That's a really fun set of matches. I'll be really excited to watch those.
London, Dallas, yep.
Because that's so much new information. I'm so excited to see what Minnesota can look like with that roster. So we'll see. You got back-to-backs here. Paris v. Minnesota now. again, with different debuts, I really like the Rocker team. Like I said, I think this team could still be a contender. I'm not as high on Paris still. It's hard to say. I'm going Minnesota 3-1 or 3-2. I'll play it safe with 3-2. Rex, where you at?
I'm going Minnesota 3-2 as well.
Okay.
I mean, you're not high on, like, I'm giving Paris a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with adding Zaptius. I just think it's a good addition. I think they're going to have a little bit of like freshness added to that squad. They got this amateur guy who's super good in the AM scene, and Zaptius was a good player for the Ravens. So
For sure.
Minnesota's just really not going to want to lose this, like, at all.
Oh, yeah. This is a must-win match for Minnesota.
Paris is going to want it really bad as well.
Yeah.
But I think
these are some fun
Minnesota's
matchups.
like almost like fear of like
Oh, then
losing.
we get LA
is gonna
Thieves up next.
Win.
Oh, this is such a juicy weekend. Ooh, baby. Say where you at.
Yeah, last time Paris played Rocker, they lost 3-1. And that was with the struggling Rocker too.
There's just so much difference now.
There is.
Both teams have changes.
Mm-hmm. I am thinking this is going to be a 3-1 Minnesota.
Could Minnesota surprise us in hardpoint? They could. They could.
If you have Major playing that AR to a point where it's not just anchoring,
Right.
and he's actually active.
That's the issue is that since with AR, we've only ever seen Major Maniac play a freaking slow AR.
Yes.
I mean, he was so slow with FaZe last year, which they needed that guy to be that for them. So we just haven't seen him be like an awakening, like a really fast paced AR, which I think at this point this team needs to play like that. And I just don't know if that's the case. Anyway, all right. Seattle versus LA Thieves up next. We got the debut of Classic on Seattle. We've got the re-debut of Tej on LA Thieves. Do you buy into LA Thieves?
I mean, do I buy into them? I don't know if it's buying in. I think it's just believing
Seattle.
what is already the truth. Like LA Thieves is kind of, Seattle's not looking great. They add Classic. I think it's going to make them a little bit better. And I think we might see some sparks of that in this game. But LA Thieves, I don't know. They got Draza. And like Draza, he's pretty good.
Draza and Kenny.
He's a very confident player, Draza.
There's just so much more talent on this team right now.
About him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's comfort here too.
We've seen this LAT team perform and
against Seattle.
And again, in my opinion, they were on the rise too before they dropped TJ for HUKE. So in my mind, this is a pretty easy either 3-0 or 3-1. I'll give Seattle one map, but again,
sounds like a charity.
I know, but just this Classic move seems like a very lateral move, and there's not much going to happen here. And I already like this roster of LA Thieves prior to them dropping HUKE, so
right.
I see no issue here.
They did go game 5 last time they played.
Yeah.
So, there's potential there.
There is.
It was a reverse sweep too. So there is potential here for Seattle. I'm not trying to rule them out. I'm going to go LA Thieves 3-0. Right now, we are all across the board agreeing on the teams who have won here. This is a weird.
Isn't that fun?
This is rare stuff here. So I'm going to go with LA Thieves 3-0. I agree with you in that sense. I think this team's going to be just fine. Again, I just don't see too much of a change off the rip here and against the Seattle team. So LAG v New York. I mean, New York
3-0.
Yeah. It's hard to see anything else. We're all on the same page. How do you pick LA? Sam?
It is hard here because
you've been kind of on the LAG, like, let's switch it up types train.
I know. But again, New York. It's New York versus LAG. God. It's going to be 3-1. No, it's going to be 3-0. You're right, Rex.
As long as New York doesn't let up the gas pedal like they did not last stage, like stage 2 or whatever. Like they just got bodied for some reason.
Yeah, it's either a 3-0 or 3-1.
The thing is with these 3-1s is again with the addition of Standoff.
Yeah, that's why I agree. I'm hesitant to go any 3-0s because you could see Standoff, and then at that point it's a toss-up map with the first week of S&D, just like what we saw with Express early on.
Exactly.
So
Apocalypse too.
Like I picked an LA Thieves 3-0, and I mean, it could go 3-1 easily. I'm gonna go ahead and ISL 3-1 here just for that reason. And because LAG is a very respectable search and destroy team, which, and again, when a team has a strength like that, they're a little bit more dangerous, especially when a new map's in the rotation. So that's why I'll take it there. All right, London versus Florida. What do you think about London? Another situation here. You had them playing Dallas and Florida. You're going to learn a lot about London here, whether or not they can beat these middling teams who are both trying to find their way right now. I just don't have the confidence. I just do not have the confidence to pick a team like this right now. Florida, 3-1 probably again there. I'm going to pick a lot of 3-1s this weekend.
Man, here's the thing. I would have picked London before the roster changes in this one.
Yeah, you would have.
Now I don't know. I lost all faith. I was just like,
yeah.
I really was starting to like that London team, and they're really getting better, and they consistently were just improving. You could see it in the gameplay, and then they changed 2 of the players out, key players, and it's like, well, I don't know what to do with this anymore. So London's either going to be really good and actually got a lot better,
yeah,
or they're going to be worse.
It's just recently, whenever we've seen the Mutineers play against the middling teams like the Rocker, the Empire, the Gorillas, LA Thieves, they've been winning these last few times. They just can't beat the Legion, and they can't beat any team in top 4. That's their problem here. I don't know. I'm going to go Florida 3-1. I'm pretty confident Florida wins this one.
How good's Alex now? Has anyone seen any VOD of him?
We haven't seen Alex play in a long time.
That's my worries. I worry about Alex.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know what? I'm just going to eat that worry. I'm going to call it London.
What?
3.
You're picking against Big Wake?
Wow.
I know it's tough, but I liked the London squad before, and I just going to trust the management and players on this one and hope that they actually got better from this change. Because I think they would have won with the old roster.
Okay. Sam?
But I'll go London 3-2.
I'm going to go Florida here. I do not.
Yeah, thanks, Rex, for taking London.
Yeah,
we needed someone to go. We needed someone to go off the beaten path.
No, absolutely. And I share the similar qualms with Alex. I wasn't a fan of how he played before he left. I'm not sure how much that's going to change.
Did he improve?
Right.
Again, yeah.
That's what it's hard to say.
There's been no 8s. There's been no nothing. It's like, what has he been doing? And he's back. I do not have confidence in that. So.
My worry with London is did they give Alex his job and spot back because and this might sound heartless, because they felt bad for him and you're
well, yeah. The rumor was that it was solely because they had promised him his spot, not because of a gameplay thing.
Dude, that's just the part that gets me. That's the part that gets me.
That's what's
how
so wild.
Can I trust that?
I don't know. That's what made it so tough. It came down to a money decision. I just don't want to pick London. I can't. Dallas versus Toronto. We got 2 matches left here, Toronto and Dallas. Again, it comes down to what you believe about this Dallas team and the new roster with Vivid. This could be competitive, but it's at this point, Toronto's given me no reason not to pick them. They've never let us down. And they just continue. Every time I watch them, if anything, it continues to reaffirm that Toronto's insane. And even though they didn't clutch up, they were in a tough spot though. They had to play in a rematch against FaZe. It comes down to a game 5, and they play on Moscow, FaZe's best map.
Yeah.
So I just think Toronto's really freaking good, and they're probably gonna win 3-1. Yeah. Oh, boys. We're all on the same page here.
Toronto 3-1 against Dallas for, just because it's Toronto, Dallas got a new player, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you can't say, too, they haven't played, they beat OUT OpTic. Lost the FaZe twice in the main. But yeah, no, they're consistently beating these teams. And so, like you said, how do you not go with them here? It would be crazy to pick Dallas.
Yeah.
It would be.
I mean, great. Yeah. It just seems hard to believe.
I think it'd be crazy.
Yeah, I put money on Toronto for sure. Well, here we are, boys. Will we change sides, Sam? Come on, baby. Horny for me. Chicago v Atlanta. And Sam is going with
this is the chance, man. How do you pick Chicago here?
I know, bro. It's so hard to pick Chicago.
It's gonna be Atlanta 3-1. I understand
Man.
it's vanilla, but these guys just dominated. And you have Chicago still. Granted, Chicago is making the
S&E
correct
maps in the series are gonna be really interesting.
That'll be interesting.
Will we see Standoff and Miami? Will they
That would
both
be
veto
interesting.
both of them?
That would be interesting. And then you see,
Because this match is actually really. I mean, this match could decide the group.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
like
a really fun match. And it's not just because it's OpTic and FaZe, but that adds to it. But just like OpTic has a huge comeback story. OpTic always comes to play against top teams.
again. Yeah.
And a
And
team like Atlanta.
Their
like,
group is FaZe, Chicago, Thieves, Rocker, Leech, and Surge. Like, I mean, FaZe and OpTic are by and far and away the two lead away teams here.
Mhm.
So it's like, this probably will decide the group.
Yes.
So this match means a lot. They're going to pull out their best maps for this one. And it's early in the stage, so both of them will feel comfortable pulling out their best maps because they're not going to play for a while anyway,
Yeah.
leading into the stage. And the winner of this match will feel very comfortable then working on their map pool over the next few matches anyway, especially against teams, the weaker teams in the group. So anyway, with that said, you expect FaZe to come out with the best Call of Duty
absolutely.
they got. And when FaZe plays the best Call of Duty they got, they win. So I'm going FaZe 3-1. Rex?
But man, if Atlanta comes out slow or like they don't give Chicago the credit, Chicago is going to come out with the fire on this one.
Yeah.
And Chicago always does, like OpTic does. I could easily see OpTic winning like 3-2 in a crazy like
For
game
sure.
5.
I agree.
If Atlanta's not bringing it, but I feel like Atlanta sort of learned from their mistake that that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, that's what gets tough, man. But wow, boys, we
I think this has been like the most like this
Uniform.
week has
by
been,
far.
but like even the matchups, I feel the most confident in my picks this week.
I agree.
It's just the way it's just the way it's
there's
lined up.
like a pretty obvious favorite on both
Yeah.
sides.
So I know we're like all the same, but you'd be crazy to pick the opposites.
I agree. I mean,
Bar
we'll
a
see.
few.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Rex, shout out for going London.
London for sure. London will be the dark horse, possibly.
Yeah, I mean,
London
again,
is definitely a dark horse. Like, it really depends, I feel like, on Afro and Alex, obviously. I'm just going to give Afro benefit of the doubt that he's going to be great.
Yeah.
Going to be like a Hydra, whatever. And then Alex, he better show up.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
He's the one I'm gambling with.
At the end of the day, there's so many different debuts this weekend. Things could go different ways. I mean, obviously the Dallas-London match, the Paris-Minnesota match, LA Thieves in Seattle, and London versus Florida. Those matches are like very much could go either way. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be a fun weekend. I'm excited for it, guys. And with that said, we can go into our intelligent and irrelevant and wrap up the podcast a little bit.
Keep
Let's
it
go.
rolling.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Alrighty.
jeez.
Intelligent or irrelevant? Sammy, what we got this week?
Here we go. Which of the bottom 4 teams in the standings currently has the best chance to make champs? You have Seattle, Paris, London, and LAG.
I would imagine. Well, I guess I don't hear it. Sam, what do you think?
You know, especially with the roster changes, it makes things rather interesting.
For sure.
But you kind of want to.
Points wise, LAG has the best chance. They're up 20 points right now on London.
But do you trust them to start winning like crazy, or does London have a little bit of upside now with Afro coming in?
Yeah,
do you give it to
I don't
London?
know, man. Rex, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I bet the people picked LAG. If it were me, I would say London.
Yeah,
I feel like London has a higher ceiling to possibly
I bet the
hit.
people say London.
Well, I'm going to vote for Seattle because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So 38% LAG,
I knew it.
Ooh,
I knew it.
36% London,
wow,
Ooh, nice.
very
That's who I'd
close.
pick is
Ooh,
London.
what are the people saying?
and then 23% Seattle. So Paris was the last.
Oh,
by
interesting.
Far. 3% Paris.
Dang, what?
Yeah,
No, okay, bro. Nah, bro.
it's crazy.
Dude, social media does crazy things to people.
Oh
They
yeah,
just-
for sure. At Scoopsy, barring a drastic change in any of the team's performances, London is greater than LAG, who is greater than Seattle, who's greater than Paris.
Oh, he's going all the way down.
Although for the record, the odds of Seattle or Paris making it are like less than 1%. not only would they need to start playing much better, they need Rocker Florida to start sucking.
Yeah.
Let's see who else we got.
That's the thing, is that Florida isn't going to suck. They're just going to be like, you know? So it's like, there's no way Florida sucks. And the Rocker, there's no way they suck. They're just going to be And like, and if they're playing against the bottom 4 teams, the teams that would have to beat them, it's like, how in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
LAG has the best chance, probably.
Zoom Viper,
London.
Seattle, and Paris are too far gone at this point, to be honest. And personally, I think London has more upside than LAG.
Yeah.
I agree. So I'd
I
say
agree.
them. I didn't like their roster change, but Afro was disgusting when he was playing in Europe. And if Alex doesn't work, they always have Zed on the bench. Also very true. And then last but not least, Burger Monkey 219. I love your name. LAG, because they can compete with the better teams in the league, even though they have problems closing out series.
Yeah.
Which is also true.
Yeah.
I would give you intelligent.
Intelligent. I like that.
Wait,
Those
hold on. This was for who can win champs?
No, who has the best chance to make
Get it in
champs?
chance.
Oh, make champs.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably LAG. But London, Alex.
London
if Alex
has-
plays well, London, I think, is
London
the
has
smarter
the upside.
decision.
They have the
If
upside.
this was the roster before, I would say London. But
Yeah.
now with the new roster, it's toss up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, boys, what are you watching this week?
Do not watch Army of the Dead. Do not waste your
Sam
time.
was so excited for
I
it.
was so
Really?
excited. And it turns out the writing is just awful. Oh,
It
my
looked
word.
terrible. I watched some of like the breakdowns. I was like, wow, this looks
Yeah.
really bad.
Like, don't get me wrong. It looks cool and it sounds cool and all that, but it's 2.5 hours.
Oh,
And the story
man.
is just brutal.
Oh, that's so tough. Did you watch all of it?
I did.
Yikes.
Because I was like, okay, something's going to happen. Nope.
That's tough. Rex,
Nope.
what are you watching?
I mean, I watch a lot of TV shows, still watching the same ones, but
Nice,
Big Mouth
nice.
recommendation if you like, adult animated comedy.
Okay.
Big Mouth on Netflix, really fun. It's
Is
really,
that,
I like it a lot.
Is that the one with
Nick Kroll,
John
Mulaney.
Mulaney, yes.
Oh, John
okay.
Mulaney's doing that.
He's
He's voice of
he
Andrew.
What
voices
do you
one of them.
mean? I'm John Mulaney.
Good old John Mulaney.
Yeah, no, it's great. I guess I'm still watching Bad Batch, hanging out, watching good times, UFC, NBA playoffs.
Oh, I
having a
watched
good
a
time.
movie. It was, I think it was called Someone in the Window or A Woman in the Window. It was like kind of like a thriller. But this woman had agoraphobia. If you don't, I mean, I could rant about this. Agoraphobia is like when you're scared to go outside and like
Oh, okay.
she was like hallucinating stuff. But like
What?
the way they tried to portray it, and like it was kind of like a mind bender a little bit.
Oh,
I liked it. A lot of people kind of roasted it on social media, but I didn't think it was that bad.
cool.
Nice.
I respect that. Well, boys, that's it for the podcast. Definitely, this
Wow.
could be our longest one ever. I'm
It's
not
gotta
sure. It
We're
felt
at
like it.
Almost 2 hours. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it's
sure we've
pushing
hit
it.
this point
Unless I
before.
edit it a little bit, that would probably be our longest one ever. So
That's
welcome to you guys, you absolute psychopaths
Hey,
who are
thank
still
you.
listening right now.
Go to bed.
If you are, comment the word. What did you just say, Rex? The word to be scared-
Agoraphobia.
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 Comment
agoraphobia if you're watching right now, because we'll know you guys are the
Please.
real ones. Tweet
What
at
about the
us too.
Salvations Elite Community COD League? You
And the
wanna shout
community
that one out?
league. Shout out the community league. Yo, when this comes out, you'll have a few hours to sign up before I randomize it. So make sure you are
Where's the link
signing
at?
up. Just check out my most recent video besides this podcast. You'll know that's there. So there it is, boys. This has been the
There you go.
podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Share it if you guys really enjoyed it. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be reading them next week for sure. And we appreciate you guys. So as always, I'm Josh. SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash3 and to our farthest right, per usual, is Rex Shady Nero. And guys, this has been the best of 3 CoD Esports Podcast. We will see you next time. We out.